In this video, I would like to provide a commentary upon the very first video that I ever made, entitled Shadowing a Foreign Language. I made that video almost a year ago now, over a year ago now, because I had described my technique of shadowing on the forum for learning languages called How to Learn Any Language, where I'm a moderator, over the years, and although I'd done my best to describe it, people seemed to have a hard time grasping it. So I thought that if I made a video just of the practice itself, the right technique, that would solve the whole problem. However, both here on YouTube, where the comments come in, and in the discussions on that forum, and on my own website, I keep getting many questions about this technique. And I promised at the time that I made that video that if there was interest, I would make another video to try to explain the technique a bit more. I've been a bit reticent to do that, however, because, well, on the one hand, while I would like to be acknowledged as the inventor of this technique, the innovator of it, I don't want to be equated with it. I don't want to be thought that this is the only technique that I myself use and that I would prescribe to other people. That's just not the case. I myself use lots of other techniques in the study of languages, and I'm aware of many more that I would, depending upon your character, your the type of learner that you are, would think that might be more appropriate for you, and to tell you to use in addition to this or in preference to this. And so that's one reason. The other reason is that I have tried. I've gone out on numerous occasions and tried to make some videos of myself while I'm actually teaching students how to do this, and they just have never worked out very well. It's too intrusive upon the actual lesson that's in progress, and in the end they just haven't been worthwhile. So I think that actually that first video that I made, that's only about 1 minute and 8 seconds long, if I remember correctly, I'm never going to be able to improve upon that for showing the correct technique, the correct posture. So let's use that as a point of reference and discuss that. Discuss some of the constant questions that have come in about that. I don't know how serious all of them are, but there are a lot of inquiries I get along the lines of, well, is it really necessary to walk back and forth and turn so rapidly on a bridge? No, absolutely not. I'm doing that because I've got my camera set up over there, and I'm trying to stay in the range of it. This is much more pleasant, much more interesting to do if you have a nice trail to walk on, if you can go out and just go on a hike and do this. That's much more preferable. I get questions, is it possible to do this, say, on a treadmill? Well, of course, it's possible to do this on a treadmill, but the basic idea is that you want to kill as many birds with one stone as you can, and as you can see in my videos, I spend most of my time sitting in my office, in my study, at a desk behind books. As I mentioned, there are other techniques that I myself do, and one of those involves simply listening to recorded books for native speakers, novels in languages that I know particularly well, like French or German or Spanish. I go for a run every single morning, at least 1 hour, and I listen to books like that. There are other things that I do, but in the main, I'm sitting in my office all day, every day. And so the idea is that you want to get out and get some exercise at the same time that you are studying your language. So a treadmill will work, but it's better to get outside. The speed and the motion, are those absolutely necessary? Well, yes and no. There's no need to study in this fashion at all, as I said. There are many other techniques that you could use. And I say to all of the students whom I coach in person, you know, this is a technique that I have tried in every way, shape, and form, and this is what I have found works best. And so what I feel that I can do best on this planet is help other people learn how to learn languages. But I can also teach you, if you don't have access to somebody else, I can teach you how to play the flute, or how to fence with a foil, or how to shoot an arrow, archery. Um, and in all of those regards, I would do what was done to me and which I see the value of, is teach the correct posture, teach the correct position first and foremost. And once you've got it down, you are free, you are welcome to innovate. You are free to slack off. You are free to not be so exact in the exact position and posture that's been shown to you. But while you are learning any kind of new technique, any kind of new skill, these things are important. And when it comes to speaking a language, speaking any language, it is important to have good posture. It is important to articulate fully. It is important to do these things. And for all of these purposes, in my own experimentation, walking swiftly is much more efficacious than walking slowly. It's much more efficacious than sitting at your desk. When you do that, your mind just simply tends to wander off onto other topics a bit faster. When you move swiftly outside, you tend to stay focused upon the task at hand. And that's the real purpose of all of this, is that no form of study, no technique of study is of any value if you're not focused, if you're not totally aware upon it. So the value of doing what I do in that video is, more than anything else, simply upon keeping yourself focused upon the task at hand, which is to listen to and repeat. Imitate as best you can the sounds that you're hearing and progressively understand them on deeper and deeper levels. So the next question that I get the most is, how about doing it in public? How about doing it in a park? Don't you feel self-conscious doing it around other people? Well, the answer there is not anymore. I mean, when I developed this technique, I first started it when I was living in Berlin in the mid-1990s. Very much so I felt self-conscious about it, and I really worked at it and got it to work for me when I was living sort of in rural Korea in the late 1990s, when I didn't have to worry about being seen by other people. So no, doing it in a public park is not ideal, and I would not leave it at that and say you should go out and do that. But I just presume that most students, most watchers live in cities, and that's where you can do this most efficaciously, is in some sort of park. The reason I don't like doing it in a park is not so much because I'm self-conscious now about other people watching you. If you try this, you'll find people don't care. There are all sorts of people doing other things in parks, other kinds of practices, other kinds of exercises. And if they do care, what's of concern to you is the fact that they bother you. They get in your way. You're trying to study, and they come up and say, "What are you doing?" And you have to stop and explain. That's not good. What is good about doing this, given if these are your circumstances for doing it, what is good is the fact that when you actually go out and try to speak a foreign language, you're going to feel very self-conscious. You're going to feel that everybody is watching you. You're going to feel put on the spot. So this can help you with that. But no, my goal, my ideal, is to establish an institute for the intensive study of foreign language learning skills, where there will be specific grounds, specific areas for doing this that will not be in a park where you might have to worry about dogs or drunks or people picnicking or just walking by, bicyclists getting in your way. The next question that I get refers most generally to the idea of how are you actually supposed to do this? For some reason, people can't conceive of the fact that you're supposed to just imitate the sounds that you're hearing instantaneously as best you can. Of course you can't do it perfectly at first. Of course it's a bit difficult at first, but with repetition and with the corrective device of both hearing a constant recording and hearing your own voice loud and clear coming out because you are walking swiftly as you're moving outside. Matched against that, you will hear the correct sound, and your sound is inevitably going to be incorrect, and this method is not guaranteed to ever give you a correct pronunciation and intonation, but you're going to hear your degree of incorrectness and improve upon it as best you can. So the idea is, quite simply, to listen to the sound and repeat the pattern and the intonation as best you can. Now, in order to illustrate that, I just made a recording of myself saying what I just said, and now I will play that and try to do it. How are you actually supposed to do this? It's almost like that you're supposed to just imitate the sounds that you're hearing instantaneously as best you can. Of course you can't do it perfectly at first. Of course it's a bit difficult at first, but repetition and with the correct device of both hearing and a constant recording and hearing your own voice loud and clear coming out because you are... That's the idea. You hear and repeat the same thing instantaneously. Now, when I have done this, I have helped people, native English speakers, who are trying to overcome dyslexia or just trying to overcome a lifelong habit of not speaking in a particularly educated fashion and wanting to speak in a more educated fashion using recorded books for this device. And when you're doing this with a foreign language that's totally different and you haven't heard this at first, of course the initial times are going to be very different. That's the whole point, is that each time you do this, you make improvement. Each time you do this, it gets a little bit better. So, those are the main issues and concerns that have come out about the practice of shadowing a foreign language. I hope I've answered them now, and if there is still continued interest, I will be happy and willing to make yet one more video on the topic, sort of explaining not just the theory behind it, but the actual steps that you would want to take. What I'm doing on that bridge walking back and forth is not simply repeating, but you see that I have a book and I'm looking at it in different ways, and I'm coming to understand the text of what I'm saying in a progressively deeper fashion. There are steps for doing that, and I will explain that, I guess, in the next video.